our expectations were to pay off the home, have more cash flow. But then we soon realized that if you pay off your first asset, you now have all this equity. And then the next part of this is learning how you...
What is going on, everybody? I got Rick Campion here with us. He is one of our very successful clients through Replace Your Mortgage and ultimately Replace Your University now. And I wanted to bring him to kind of the front of what we're doing here and make it known what kind of success he's had, because ultimately my heart is I have worked with Rick for about 5 years on and off now. And his life has totally changed, and we're going to get into that. But I'm just proud of Rick. I'm proud of what he's done, where he's come from, and what he's accomplished through not always easy times. And so I really want to make that be known in this video. And so first of all, welcome, Rick. It's good to have you here with me and chatting.
Thanks for having me, Derek. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So first of all, Rick, I just kind of want to get started off on the right foot. Why don't you bring everybody up to speed on kind of your background, what it is you do for a living, and your life before you met Replace Your Mortgage, and then we'll kind of continue on into life after Replace Your Mortgage. So just give us a quick history background of Rick Campion.
Sure thing. So I guess my background is in I'll call it procurement, project management. Work for a large company. Been fortunate enough, blessed to work in that industry and have steady employment. I think the other thing, my father, I think of my father always said, he said that you should take what you've been able to do and make a book out of it. And that is just be a single income earner. I owe the world of love and thanks to my wife, who had the hardest job raising our family. And we have a blended family now, in the sense where we've got, I kind of joke around where you have, you go by my house, you have kids popping out the windows between my children who have married and have children. And we really wanted to help them out. And it actually provides a baseline for what I'm about to tell you, because I knew economically things weren't going great in this country. And I knew I wasn't going to just sit there and vent on social media. I knew it really boiled down to me changing the way I thought in order to handle my problems, despite the outside influence and whatever helped me. So that's what kind of led me to start at least being exposed to. One thing I knew, Derek, is continuing to do what I was doing was not going to solve the answer. I knew if I went and continued down that path, it's going to be the same thing. It's like the old saying, insanity is doing the same thing again, expecting different results. I know that's really used, quite a bit, but that's a fact. So I knew I had a problem with my my cash flow. Also, my mortgage. I was the king of refinancing, and basically what was happening there, and I hope many people can identify with this, I was burning hot. In other words, I was spending more money than I was taking in, and that would result in a refi over some period of time, 4 or 5, maybe 6 years, which in some senses was wise, but I wasn't getting out of my rut. Lo and behold, as I was looking for a new refinance bank, institution, financial organization, found it on my cell phone, oddly enough, and I came across Replace Your Mortgage. I read the specs on it and I said, is this going to be another government program? Let me check it out. Click, I look in it. There's Michael Lush eloquently talking about the benefits of the program. It sounded too good to be true. But, I knew what my problem was, and I knew that if I continued to do the same thing, I was going to get the same results. So I looked into it and I fact checked it by myself. I didn't go anywhere, because there's always going to be haters, right? If you go by the haters or go by 1 or 2 or 3 comments, it's probably from people who didn't give it a chance or, weren't tough enough to do what was required. And I don't say that apologetically. That's a fact, right? Nothing works. You got to work it. So I checked into it. Called up. You and I met. I gave you my background, my, my specs, if you will, what I was making, what was coming in, what was coming out. And, our relationship, began. So that's kind of, how things got started. And one last thing before I, kind of turn it back to you for a second is you got to do the work. Don't be afraid to think differently. If you are afraid to think differently and you're going to do what everybody else does, you're going to get what the rest of the country gets or what the rest of the world gets, right? You got to step out, do the work. And this is a process that will work. You just have to be patient. You got to do what you're told to do. And you got to go work it and you got to go learn it, right? You got to, really, really, embrace the principles behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's good. And I love that. Thanks for sharing, that background. And to add to what you're saying there, I once heard it put, I have one of my actually first clients that I signed up, not my first client, but one of the first clients for Replace Your Mortgage that I ever brought on and walked through this. He was very, very wealthy, top 10% in the country in terms of wealth. And I asked him, I said, what is it that made you so successful? Because he was self-made. And he said, it's pretty simple. Actually, he said, if I wanted to look like the top 10% of the country, in terms of socioeconomically, right, and wealth, I had to stop acting and doing the same things that the other 90% were doing.
Amen.
And it was like pretty common sense, right? And I'd say that's where Replace Your Mortgage and really Replace Your University falls into, which is, this is going to look a lot different than what you've been taught in K through 12, and even potentially in your undergrad and graduate degree programs. However, it doesn't mean that it's not going to work. It just means that it's going to be potentially better for you, the consumer, than what it is for the institution. And that is why it's not taught. One of the reasons why it's not taught. So I appreciate that insight. That's really good. So here's a question that I love to ask people is, when you signed up for Replace Your Mortgage, right? And all kind of cards on the table here. Replace Your Mortgage, when you signed up, Rick, that was 2018, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay. So in 2018, that was a lot different than what we currently have going on now. We have so much more to offer and so much more help. And it was it wasn't do it yourself, but it was, in a way, there was a lot of that to it. It was kind of like, here were a few tools and resources and things that you could use. Here's all the things that you're going to need to be successful, but it was still up to you to do a lot of the legwork. Whereas nowadays we have a lot more things put in place to where we do a lot of the legwork and take that off of your plate. However, back when you signed up, and you made that financial decision because it's an investment, right? What did you really expect? I mean, because I get crazy, right? Different answers in this. I get people that are like, I felt like I was going to be a millionaire in 2 years. And then I get other people that were like, I just honestly wasn't expecting it to work. And I just figured, like, why not? Let's give it a try. Right. So those are the two, obviously, ends of the spectrum. But where were you at mentally, and you and your wife, I should say, where were you guys at when, like, the day that you signed up, you made that payment, you invested? What were the thoughts going through your head?
So our thoughts were, we just didn't want to maintain. We could maintain. I could continue down the path of paying off such a major obligation as a mortgage, X number of years. But I felt that there was something better out there. And when I looked at the program and I looked at the information that was out there, and it's funny, you're right. I mean, I still thought what you guys provided from an information perspective was very valuable. And I watched those videos and I became a subject matter expert, and you can. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you about any degrees, because that doesn't matter, Derek. None of that matters. All that matters is you become an expert. You have a student's heart, right? Always have a student's heart, always want to learn, and just be willing to, again, just to do the work. And even back in 2018, you're right. What you guys have now compared then is just phenomenal. But I saw what was then was great. But what our expectations were, and what was tremendous, is that we learned that we had equity in our home that we could access. Never could have imagined that. I knew I had equity, just couldn't get to it. And when you start learning about things like, fragmentation, where, we're taught, we all learn from our parents and from the financial industry to keep your money separate, keep it in a savings account, keep it in a checking account, keep it in your mortgage, because this way you won't be able to leverage the cash that you have, to pay down your debt. So when you guys taught me those principles and I realized I could access that equity, I was thrilled, because accessing the equity and then paying down the principal, here's the great part, being able to pay down that principal and have the mortgage vehicle itself, and learning about that, recalculating that payment and that principal payment to a lower interest rate as you pay off the principal, was a game changer. And that was very basic math. You don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to have a lot of big math background or anything like that. You just have to look at the basics. So our mindset was, we just want to pay off the mortgage faster. And then as we started to work this, some things began to open up, and we got smarter. And then we began to learn how to leverage our equity. And again, it's just a very slow process over time. I can't emphasize that. There are no, if something's quick hit or get rich quick or some kind of fast scheme, it's probably not going to be that valuable, right? That's kind of my opinion of the matter, Derek.
Yeah, no, that's good. So from an expectation standpoint, you expected to get better, but from a how much better? Really, did you have some goals that you and your wife had set in place? What were the short-term and the long-term goals that you expected after that, signing up and becoming a client from there?
Well, our expectations were to pay off the home, have more cash flow, but then we soon realized that if you pay off your first asset, you now have all this equity. And then the next part of this is learning how you can leverage the equity that you have. What's happened in our country and how we were trained is that get out of debt. That's all fine and good. But show me a capitalist that is completely out of debt, and I'll show you somebody who's probably not very wealthy, right? Right. There's good debt and bad debt. And as we advance through the program, and as I continue to talk to yourself, and I want to give a hats off to Christy Osmond and Jim Kindred, for becoming your own banker, and the concepts that those two individuals, wonderful individuals, have taught me, coupled with Replace Your Mortgage, has been a game changer. So you're asking me these questions to get more than you bargained for. Definitely you want to get that mortgage paid off. And then we had no idea that we could access that equity, and that would provide much more financial opportunity for us.
Yeah. No, and I think that's where the big hinge point lies, right? This is what I would say when people are looking into signing up for Replace Your Mortgage or any of our other Replace Your University products. You mentioned Replace Your Retirement, which is the becoming your own banker strategy, mm-hmm. With Jim and Christy over there. Like it's amazing for me on the inside to see the journey of each individual. And I've always said this to our staff of account executives who handle all of our clients and walk them through is, look, this isn't a transaction. This isn't a customer even. This is a client, right? And the difference there between those things is that a client is ongoing. It is a relationship-based thing. It is something that we are continually working together on. And Rick, I think that I was just having a conversation with somebody about 3 weeks ago, and they were asking about that distinction, client versus customer. And I said, I know a guy, his name is Rick Campion. And I said, that is a client to me. He's a guy that has checked in with me, even if I fall short of checking in, which I'm human, right? And I fall short of that. He's calling me or texting me every 6 months, seeing how I'm doing, letting me know how he's doing. I'll never forget when you bought your first Airbnb, over there in Jersey, and how pumped you were. And you were like, man, I got this Airbnb. I'm gonna buy 2 more, and I got this, and this. And you were just so jacked up. And I was so excited for you. I remember getting off that phone call. I remember where I was standing. I was in my office, my home office. And I got off the phone and I went to my wife and I said, this is why I do what I do. I said, this man's life is changing before my eyes. And I said, to even think that God could allow me to be the hands and feet in any way. I don't consider myself responsible for it. I just know that I was used in some way, shape, or form in 2018 to help you on your path here, and then have gently, pushed and directed since then. And it's been such a blessing for me to watch you and people like you do this kind of thing, right? Because where the real value is, it's, as you mentioned, it's not paying off your house. That is valuable. I'm not going to lie. That's valuable and it's incredible. It's a huge feat. It's a huge accomplishment. But it's during that process, in that pressing that you have, that takes place, and then this forced kind of way that we have to help you re-examine and refocus and get new clarity and new optics on finances and in life and what's important, what's not. And, if you look out and you see, point Z and you're at point A, helping you realize that there's a much quicker path there than going through every letter of the alphabet, right? There's shortcuts. That's just how it works. And as you mentioned, it's not a get rich quick thing, but there are efficient ways to get there, ways that don't require you paying for massive mistakes. You're going to pay for a mentor and you're going to invest in a mentor, but you're going to avoid a host of mistakes and therefore get back time and also save a lot of money. But during that process, the real value is the mindset change. It's that paradigm shift that happens in the mindset that allows you to go, like in your case, well, what if I were to buy an Airbnb? And what if I were to increase my cash flow by $5,000 a month because of this Airbnb?
Yes.
Right? What would that do? And then if I had that money, what would I go do with that? Right? And your perfect example where you went and you're like, Jim, Christy, replace your retirement, become my own banker, like all that stuff. And it is legitimately mind-boggling to me, the amount of people that suffer through life because they are unwilling, lazy, whatever you want to call it, to just take some time to look into a strategy like this. Even if it's not us, just a strategy like this. Because we want to see people win. That is our heart. If it's with us, great. If it's not with us, that's okay too. But I just love seeing the growth year over year, day over day, all of it. So yeah, it's awesome. So speaking of which, tell me a little bit about the Airbnb world, how you got into that, and kind of, I know I'm cheating a little bit because I know that, that sets you up nicely kind of going into this season because you got in when you got in and got out when you got out and all that kind of stuff. But tell me a little bit more about that and how that changed your life a little bit.
Sure. If I'm giddy, it's just because of, there's obviously some financial success there, but believe it or not, it's the execution and getting it done. And there's always a lot of naysayers in the background or we could walk around in fear. What's it in Timothy talks about? God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, of strong mind, right? You could stay fearful all your life, or you could be bold. And I'm not saying that you have to be stupid in your ventures into finding out some opportunities, but you can't stay paralyzed. You can't stay in the middle of the road. I just want to go back for a second. And I can't wait to answer the question you just asked, because I just want to let people who watch this broadcast know that the actual day-to-day to go get the new HELOC in place, people are going to go anyway. They're going to go do that. And what was required of me, I didn't think it was that bad at all. To go find it, to go to the bank list, to cherry pick a particular institution, and then have you work with me to go over the specs to make sure that the contract, the mortgage and so forth, everything was, I so appreciate that. And you were right there. You guys are right there. And we're going to have to do that anyway. So that was easy. And then obviously, the story behind that, it worked out. So now, let's talk about how we were able to leverage pay down. We had some equity, and that was very exciting once you get to that realization. And by the way, you mentioned something all along, your mind, you're beginning to change. You are, because you're beginning to look at things differently. You're seeing opportunity. The change does occur because you're understanding more. You're putting that application, as J. Vernon McGee used to say, that, putting the rubber to the road, right? Mm-hmm. So with the equity that we had, here's the other thing people may say in their traditional 30-year mortgage, oh, I've got all this equity and I've got this cash. That's great. What are you doing with it? Number one. And the equity that you have in your home might be true, but can you get that tomorrow? How do you get that? You'd have to refi, get a cash out. You'd have to jump through hoops. Don't even know, be very difficult, right?
Yeah.
All I knew is I had access to that cash. And as a result, my son and daughter-in-law had just purchased a home down the shore, and I live in southern New Jersey. So they were down there, and they had wanted us to go down there. My wife and I looked, and we saw an opportunity. Prices were still fairly reasonable, and we thought to ourselves, we've got equity. It's kind of debt equity. Can I leverage the equity I had in my home and put that as a down payment for to purchase a rental property, which was reasonable in the area that we found. We had we had to look at, survey the area and kind of buy in the appropriate amount that was affordable, right? Just like you do with anything. Everything I'm saying here is all practical, right? It's all practical information that I think everybody, is capable of doing. And we were able to, purchase a home. We had a blast. How about if I tell you, when we closed on that property, it was at the very height of the COVID-19, whatever you want to call it. On the 20th of March, I want to say it was.
Yep.
On March, in 2020, we closed. Yep. My wife was in a panic. I said, babe, the world's going right. We're going left. And we purchased that, and we had a blast, first couple of years. And then we realized, after talking with my colleagues with Jim and Christy, that I had a dead asset there, and there was opportunity to be able to turn that asset into a moneymaker. So we did that for a year, Derek, and did very well. It's funny because I just heard from my property manager, who was outstanding. He just texted me out of the blue. It's funny. And then after that, we just kind of reevaluated and saw that we had more investment opportunities with becoming your own banker and cash value life insurance, which is tremendous. Hey, look, dude, I'll go 8 hours and sell, man. I mean, this is just,
no, you're tremendous. Good. You're good. I love it. People need to hear it.
Yeah. I mean, we were able to sell the property. Did we catch lightning in a bottle? Sure. Can people expect the kind of things that we were able to accomplish? Well, I'll say it this way. You got to play to win, right? If we weren't in the game, the answer would be no, but we were in the game. And thankfully we were able to take the proceeds from that and put that in an investment vehicle, that's going to, not only provide a future for us, that enabled me to do some things with my pension from work that will make it more lucrative, more stable, not only more lucrative, but more stable from a longer term plan. And as you said so eloquently, Derek, that you've got your defense built, right? You've got a rock. It's like the 86 Bears, they had the defense down and they just had to work on the offense. And that's about where I'm at now. So so long story short, we provisioned the property. We had a great time for a couple of years. On the third year, we turned it into an Airbnb. We did well there. And then due to the market, we just kind of pivoted and took advantage of what was going on. And we're able to take the proceeds of that property and, work with Cash Value Whole Life, provide more coverage for my family, for my wife, and then also as a tremendous long-term investment vehicle for my future.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really, really cool to hear that. The real beauty here is, and we're kind of getting into a bigger scope, is replace your university, right? 2018, you start with replace your mortgage. And then, sometime in the last few years, you started looking over at replace your retirement and getting that piece. And, it's funny. I don't know why, but I keep thinking about this, but correct me if I'm wrong, but you're in the defense industry, right?
Yes.
And so being in the defense industry, it's funny because, one of the things that I really try to get through to people is, look, you've been playing defense your entire life.
Yeah.
And for you, you've been not only playing it in your finances, but also in your profession.
True.
And so, yeah, so it's funny because it's, as somebody who I was a two-way player in football and played out lots of other sports. I loved defense, but man, there's nothing like taking the ball to the house, you know? And so it's like, you have to play some defense for a time in order to understand and be thankful for the big plays that you make on offense. And I tell people when they're becoming a client of Replace Your Mortgage and or any of our other programs, even Create Your Own Economy, our whole thing, which spoiler alert, you just upgraded to. So super pumped for that.
Me too.
But like that idea, the very difference or the big difference is that you are going from a reactive mentality, which is this happened to me. So now I need to do this, like as an example with a house, I purchased this house or I want to purchase this house. So because of that, I have to go get a mortgage. Or, I want to retire by the time I'm 65. So because of that, I guess I'm going to have to put additional money in my 401k. It's always a reactive personality. And, with everything we do in Replace Your University, we challenge that lovingly.
Yes.
That we are tired of being reactive and it is time to get control. And like you said, play to win. It is time to be offensive instead of reactive. Be intentional instead of letting things just happen to you. Yes. Right? You can only control certain things in life, right? It's the beauty of life. And it's also the pain of life is that you can only control certain things. But I find often that people don't really truly believe that they can control their finances. They really believe that it's just happening to them. And they are dealt that deck of cards and they're playing their hand. When in reality, what if we told you that you could actually stack the deck for your benefit? And we could show you how to do that. That's really what we're doing, right? And we're putting you on the offensive side of that ball so you can actually score some points. You're not just set up to just take a beating the whole time. That's not what life's about here. So I guess to sum up the Replace Your Mortgage, because I want to jump into the Replace Your University whole picture. Mm-hmm. We've already alluded to the Replace Your Retirement stuff, but I want to talk about kind of, what we're excited about going forward with you because of your recent decision to move up to our Create Your Own Economy level stuff. So to wrap up Replace Your Mortgage, I always like to ask this question. I always put in, it's a fill in the blank. Replace Your Mortgage did what? Or replace your mortgage blank. I've had people, 3 words, change my life. Go as deep as you want, stay as surface level as you want. But if I were to put you on the spot right now and if I gave you replace your mortgage, if you were to say, hey, replace your mortgage and then fill in the blank, give me your best shot. What you got?
Wow.
And make sure you say, replace your mortgage.
Yeah. Replace your mortgage. Replace your mortgage changed your brain wiring. It did. And why do I say that? Because it changed my brain wiring because I had to overcome what we've all grown up with, what we were taught. You got to throw that out. You have to get to a point, and again, look at your surroundings. If you want change, you can't continue to do the same thing again and again. What's the term? Cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is a term used that says no matter what facts are presented to you, you're not going to ever change your deeply held beliefs. You could have the facts, you could have everything, but you're not going to change. That's foolish. So when I talk about the brain wiring, you really have to, and I'm not just saying, trust the science. You got to go out there and dig, and you got to go out there and make it work. Look at the numbers and be receptive to change. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, is this who I want to be? Is this where we want to go? Can we do better? There's nothing wrong with that. So replace your mortgage changed my brain wiring because it's now reconnecting to a new, I'll call it a new attitude, new me, a new way of thinking, a different way of thinking. I mean, like I said, I'll go as long as you want on each of these modules, man. I mean,
I love it. I'm so thankful for your passion for it, because it's rare that we meet clients that are just as passionate as we are about it, and I believe that is you. So I appreciate it. And so the last part I want to talk to you about is really the L word, legacy. Okay, and there's two parts to this that we really fully wholeheartedly believe in. And we believe that, first of all, the reason why we're doing what we're doing is for legacy type impact, not for the sake of our name, but for the sake of yours. Right. And so our name, great, whatever, if it's put on billboards and it's, we make Forbes or cool, but that's not the goal. That's not the heart. Right. The goal is to give our existing clients the tools and the resources and the knowledge needed. Those three things: tools, resources, and knowledge. The three things needed to change the legacy of their family name forever and ever.
Yes.
And what I love about what you got going on is I get a call about 3-4 weeks ago, and you're like, Derek, my daughter, I got to have you talk to her. And, we get on the meeting together, and it was beautiful. And I remember thinking about in the meeting how cool that was in 2018. I mean, in 2018, what your daughter was 19, 20 years old. Is that right?
Yes. That's correct.
Yeah. And now, so she was just graduated high school, in college. And now we fast forward and she's married. She's got a baby on the way. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep,
I got two daughters within 2 years. So I don't know if you talked to either Libby or Hannah.
Libby. It was
okay.
Libby.
Yeah. So Libby's got he's great.
Yeah.
And she's got another one on the way. Right. So,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so she's got one in hand, one on the way, husband, buying a new home.
Yes.
And just a whole new life, and the most exciting part of life ahead of her. Right. She's young. But I thought what was so cool was that, like, I was your first stop. We were your first stop because you're like, this changed my life. And I mean, can you imagine, right? I'm a younger guy, but I'm not in my mid-20s. I wish. But could you imagine?
Only if you can keep knowledge in your head.
Yeah, exactly. Could you imagine starting this at 25 years old?
Yeah.
I mean, where would you be today? I mean, it's crazy.
So
I know what people have accomplished in 7 to 10 years. You know what I mean? We have really, we've been doing this for going on 10 years now. In 2024, it's gonna be 10 years and over 6,000 clients. And I've seen what people can accomplish in that amount of time. If you have a 25-year-old and, you fast forward to when they're 45, 50 years old, holy cow, the possibilities. I mean, it's insane. It's legacy,
Yeah. So let me just say, I will have considered one aspect of my life a failure if I don't get my children into all the components, all the modules. I have all of my kids, because we had 2 kids in our 20s and 2 kids in our 30s. We joke and say we made all mistakes on our 2 kids in our 20s, so the 2 kids in our 30s, could prosper, right? So my 2 kids in my 20s are doing well, except that they haven't looked at I'll call the defense part of it, the strategies of taking the money. They're still right now anyway. And by the way, they see what we've done. So they're open. Their ears are on. They're ready to go. It's just a matter of kind of punching through that next step. So they see what we've done, and that's been a huge opportunity, a huge testimony. Just by it's like the ball player that is admired by other players based upon his work ethic and what he's been able to accomplish. It's the same thing. We've got a great, obviously love kids. You've got a great relationship, but they see what we've been able to accomplish. So as I build my portfolio, if you will, what I've been doing is having those discussions with them. Matt and Libby, to your point, they're off working with a bank. They have the bank and they're trying to get that qualification letter. And they're starting off, and you're absolutely right. If those guys not only start to replace your mortgage, Derek, once I can steer them and get them into just saving a little bit of money, because what I'm doing like last minute. Anybody who's out there that thinks they're too old, I am not only the hair club client, but I am the president. You are not too old. We're doing it. We're making it happen. You can make it happen. There's a plan for you. Just listen to the subject matter experts here at
Rick, you just had your 94th birthday. Is that right? That's what that was.
Well, that's the number I'm shooting for, man. The money's got to stay. It's got to work for the next 30 years.
I'm just kidding. That's awesome. No, and I'm in full agreement. Matt and Libby, great to work with, and yeah, it's just like anything else. They're young and they have some things to learn, but this is a process, right? But as a parent, I commend you for doing that. I'm a parent myself, and I have a boy and a girl. And one of the things that really frustrates me, and I get it, it's a joke, a lot of times, but realistically, if you really think about it, the whole saying of do as I say, not as I do, right? And I get it. A lot of parents, including myself, are guilty of using this as a joke, but the reality is when it comes to finance, when it comes to setting your kids up for success,
yes.
The Bible says, teach your kids in the way that they should go so they will not depart, right?
Amen.
And that is just what we should be doing. And I wish it would be more of something along the lines of listen to what I say and do what I do, right? Yes. It doesn't mean that they have to be exactly you. They don't have to live in your shadow, but it does mean that take the things that have led to success in my life and replicate those things in your own. And then take the things that have led to failure
yes.
and correct those things, right? And I think that requires two things of parents. It requires us to be, first of all, honest with ourselves of where we lack, right? And then from that, getting the help needed. If it's finances, like we are that help, right?
Yes.
To where we do educate you and change your life for the better, so that way you can change your kid's life for the better in the future. But also being transparent with your kids. So open and honest with yourself and transparent with your kids. Our kids, we always want our kids to look at us like we're, as dads, right? We want to be Superman for our daughters, right? And for our sons.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I think sometimes that transparency and that vulnerability as a man, just saying like, hey, I don't have all the answers, but I know how to find the answers. And I'm willing to be open enough and not too prideful to give somebody else the opportunity to speak and sow into my life.
Yes.
And that might require an investment, right? Most of the good things that have happened in my life have been because it required an investment, whether that was a sacrifice in my life,
yes,
or a financial investment into somebody else to then give back to me. The things that are free are typically not going to be life-changing, typically, not always, but typically. And so for me, I think that there's this really cool thing that you got going on, Rick, which is that you have this ability because you were open and honest with yourself and said, we are burning at a negative rate. We have negative cash flow. We are up to our eyeballs in debt. We have equity we can't access. And we have no real vision of how this is going to end other than my pension, right? And that is a scary place to be in, that I think 80% of Americans, if honest with themselves, they're all in that position. In fact, I could verify it because I can tell you I talk to a lot of our existing clients as well as potential clients. There's a lot of people that are negative cash flow, especially right now with all the inflation and, wages have not increased like cost has. So there's a lot of negative cash flow situations going on. But what's cool is if structured properly, we can't do this for everybody, but for you specifically, there was equity there that we could play with, that we could get that debt servicing taken care of, which it was the debt that was making you negative cash flow. So we knocked that debt out, put you in a positive situation, and then you throw a secondary asset on top of it with cash flow like an Airbnb, that increases that cash flow. And you're making that gap wider and wider. So you were able to be honest with yourself and say, hey, I need help. You invested and got the help. And now you can be transparent with your kids and saying, kids, I didn't always have this together, but now you've seen as I did, right? And if you want the same thing or even better, because as parents, as a father, we would want better for our kids than we had. Here's how you do it. And here's the people you need to talk to. And I think that was really special out of all the calls that I've gotten from you to get that call saying, I need you to talk to my daughter. I thought that was probably the most impactful to me, at least, to be able to help out, because that's legacy. That's where I really want to see my clients. Right.
And I got three more coming in one of the modules, if not all of them, eventually, hopefully, all of them. We've been very transparent with our children. My mom and dad, our parents loved us. A lot of what, for whatever reason, it just never translated down to us. And I've been very vocal with my faith, with my children. So from a faith perspective, they're rock solid. And I think from a legacy perspective, the finance aspect can be generational. And now, and this actually translates to some of the other modules when you look at your health, because you need to be fit and you need to be feeling well, and to be able to manage this life for the next X number of years. Everybody wants longevity, but I think if we're honest, we want longevity and quality during that time, right?
Yeah.
We've been very transparent with the kids, and they've definitely seen what has happened, and they have been able to, they themselves, make decisions, and just trying to make. I'm always talking about this, right? I told my wife, today, obviously what we were doing, and the kids found out about it, and they're excited too. So this is generational, and everybody's slowly being involved in embracing this at various levels, right?
Right. Of course. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. I mean, there's things that have to line up for this to really make sense. And sometimes that takes months to line up. Sometimes it takes years to line up. It just depends on the situation and kind of where we're starting at. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, I mean, the create your own economy piece that you're going into, that you're about to be rolling into, I'm really excited to revisit in another year or two and see where you're at again, because now you're getting access to trading, you're getting access to real estate education, you're getting access to how you can parlay or replace your retirement and replace your mortgage into those items. And then, it doesn't sound like you needed a whole lot, but we have replaced your mindset as well with, the program. And hopefully you'll come on down to Franklin and do a Unleash the Leader Within experience with us and be able to hang out in person and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to the future for the sake of you, as well as your family, your wife, your kids. I'm just incredibly grateful for you, Rick. And I really want to I want you to know that the whole team here, Michael, I was just talking to Michael about you the other day. We're just proud, and you've made us look good, right? And I'm thankful for that.
Thank you.
Because, as you started this, I'm going to end it. It takes work. It does. It takes you putting in the work and the due diligence. Anything worth doing is going to require some work, some sacrifice, some time. But you did those things. And, it's just insane to me. We can especially in finance, we can complicate it so much. But at the end of the day, it's addition, subtraction, and boots on the ground.
Yes.
If you're willing to do those two things, you can be highly successful. I don't care what degree you have. I don't care what your background is. I don't care how old you are, how young you are. You're willing to do those things. But on the vice versa of that, you could have 4 different degrees. You could be a rocket scientist. But if you're lazy, you won't put your boots on the ground, and you're not willing to do the math, you will be stuck. And I promise you, people with GEDs will be passing you up. Right. And so that's just how life works. It may not be fair, but it is how it works. So you luckily are the combo package. You got the degrees, working defense ministry, smart dude. And then also trusted us enough to help you along. And now, we're seeing the fruit of that, and couldn't be, again, more grateful for you taking some time out of your day, spending it with me and hanging out. So do you have anything final that you want to say?
Yeah, Derek, thank you so much. And it's, again, just testimony to the team, and the help and the encouragement you guys have provided. But what I would like to say to folks is that you're willing to work hard in any vocation, and you're willing to do the work. And I believe a lot of people that will work hard and do work hard. Work for yourself. Do this for yourself. Work this for your legacy. Love that, because it will pay off. That's an encouragement. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. That's the way I feel.
I love it. Well, cool, Rick. Well, I appreciate your time, buddy. I'll let you get back to your day and your family. As always, if you need anything, you just let me know. But God bless you and take care. Okay.
God bless you. Thank you very much, Dirk. Thanks for this opportunity.
Absolutely. We'll see you, brother.